And one of them in particular, she was like, I really need to work with somebody. And she's the person who spent $1,800 more in the month than what she made the first month we worked together. 3 months later, she saved $500 a month and she was paying all her bills because before she wasn't paying any of her debts. The only thing she paid was her mortgage and her car.
Welcome to the Teacher Money Show, the podcast dedicated to helping teachers navigate your unique financial challenges and unlock your financial superpowers. I'm your host, Sean Morgan, a full-time educator and personal financial coach and speaker. And I'm here to help every teacher, whether you're a seasoned teacher looking for fresh insights or a new educator navigating your first paycheck, to have a richer wallet, classroom, and life. I'm super excited to have Andi Wrenn on the show today. Andi is an accredited financial counselor and uses her certifications and her master's degree in counseling to convey her passion for helping people achieve personal, financial, and professional goals. She's also a past president of the AFCPE Board of Directors, which is basically all we're going to be talking about. So she's very qualified for that. Her credentials continue on after that, mostly helping in the military financial education space, but we have some cool ideas how we can use this AFC designation as teachers today. So, Andi, welcome to the show.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me, Sean.
So, I was talking to Andi because she had worked in some like advocacy for educators space a while ago, and we were talking about that. But then she brought up this idea of the accredited financial counselor designation and how that could be really interesting for teachers, especially teachers interested in personal finance. And I thought that sounded like a great show that you guys would be interested in. So I wanted to talk to Andi about that. So let's start off with what is this accredited financial counselor thing, and why is
Right.
that interesting for
Well, I
teachers?
remember when I learned about the AFC and I was like, whoa, people do this for a living? That's awesome, right? It's all about helping people understand their money and set goals and achieve everything they want to with their finances. Often there's so much emotion involved in personal finance. We kind of get to help people figure all that out and get comfortable with their money and achieve really fantastic goals as they go through that process. There's a lot of education, there's some number crunching, there's some debt payoff, lots of good things that people can do in the field.
Yeah, I love this emotional aspect of it because that's the part that I'm really worried as we have more and more states taking on personal financial education with their standards. I'm really worried they're just going to completely miss that piece, right? They're going to be like, okay, you got to know how to calculate an APR and you got to be able to do, like all these number crunching things, but like so much of personal finance is personal
Personal.
finance, right? That emotional piece. So I love how that's that kind of an emphasis for this designation. So you can become this accredited, right? Like designated. You've been given the stamp of approval, financial counselor. Um, what why would a teacher be interested in doing this?
Well, I started out as an elementary educator and math teacher, and I loved the money side and the business side of finances. And I know that there are a lot of teachers in the profession that maybe don't feel comfortable with their own finances. And so learning about your own personal finance personally and how to help others can be very rewarding because it helps you unpack your own beliefs and values and goals. And then you can help others do that as well. So I think that's one of the things that can be really great. And teachers, they know how to teach, they know how to connect with people. And that's a really important piece here for an AFC to be able to connect to their audience and connect to the people that they work with individually, couples, groups, however they do the job.
Yeah, I mean, this is huge. If you know a teacher who is struggling financially, raise your hand, right?
Right.
Everybody. So there is definitely a space to help. And if you're listening to this podcast, chances are you're interested in personal finance already. So this is a chance for you to kind of, work through your own struggles. I know just because you're interested doesn't mean that you have figured those things out yet. So when you learn about this stuff, you can work through those things and then turn around and help somebody else, which is what teachers really love to do. And also, just love the fact that you're also a teacher. I really love bringing teachers into the show to talk about those things. So just, anyone, once you've been a teacher, you're a teacher for life. And I think that that is
You
just
are.
fantastic.
And I know it helped me, in my path and as my path has changed. So I was one of those people that married somebody in the military, and teaching degrees do not transfer very easily to other locations.
Yeah.
So that's when I transitioned to this role because it's a national accreditation. I can teach anywhere. I can teach on military installations all over the world. So it's really great.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love that story because like you still have that heart for educating others and you're just educating them in a different way. So let's say someone is listening to this and they're like, okay, what if I want to become an AFC? What does it take to get there?
Well, first, I want to talk about some of the things that I talked about when I was still on the board, when all the states have been working to pass financial education as a requirement. I love that. And one of the things we talked about is that school districts or states can come in and do like a discounted rate for people to go through the program. And one of the paths that people could do is they have a program called the Money Management Essentials. And that's like, I don't know, somewhere around $350, somewhere around there. The prices change every once in a while. So I don't have the current price. But that gives kind of lays the groundwork for the kind of work and the topics that you do. And then if you decide to get your AFC or start the AFC process, which is, further steps, then you get that money towards your AFC if you do it within a year of taking money management essentials. So I like that path because people are like, oh, I can just take money management essentials and learn a lot. And then if I love it, keep going. If you don't, then you have that, right? And you have more knowledge than you did when you started. Um, Generally for the AFC, you need 1,000 hours of experience. If you're doing any volunteer work, if you're doing anything in the classroom that counts, you get to count that. And there's a 7 year look back. So let's say you signed up July 1st, you get to look back 7 years at the hours that you've done up until then. And then you have 3 years to complete the certification after that July 1st. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And there are a lot of ways you can get experience. You can do one on one coaching and counseling. You can develop and deliver presentations. You can review webinars and podcasts and websites and read books and take classes. And there's just so many different ways you can earn some hours. Some of them are capped, right? Like they might be 100 or 200 hours cap or a 700 for developing curriculum. But the one-on-one financial coaching and counseling and the delivering presentations has no cap. So those are both great categories to get hours.
Would delivering presentations and teaching a personal finance class be in that same vein?
Yeah.
So if you are a personal finance teacher, especially if you've been one for a couple of years,
You
you've
got some
got
hours. You
hours.
probably have what you need.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty easy to hit 1,000 hours once you've been consistently in the classroom doing this. So I mean, if you're in one of your districts and they're like, yeah, we gotta start doing a personal finance course, and you get into that and you're loving it because you're listening to this podcast, I'm sure you're loving it. Uh, you're already probably halfway there towards getting your AFC because that 1,000 hours is one of those big hurdles people struggle with to get over to get their AFC.
Right.
So you said you have 3 years to complete it. That's to make sure you get the 1,000 hours within those 3 years. And
Yeah.
then what other pieces are required in that 3 year period?
You'll have an exam that you take. So there are lots of different ways that you can do the education. There are some colleges that have educational programs that you can take and then take the exam there. There are independent trainers that you can take classes from them to learn the materials. You can just order the books, read the books, take the exam. So there's a lot of different ways that people go in. I was a read the books because I already was very interested in this topic. I was like, read the books, talk to a bunch of people. I got my experience hours on military installations. I did two different military installations, and at one base, I did presentations. At the other installation, I did one on one counseling. It was basically my focus for both of those. I also wrote articles. I started writing articles about 4 years before I started this program. So I already had some experience and I've been working with people one on one because I was one of those people who paid cash for my house. We saved tons and tons of money when we were first married. Lived off of one income, didn't touch my, or we lived off of my income, saved his, and then paid cash for the house. And then people were like, wait, how'd you do that? And so I started working with people to do debt repayment plans and to save money for emergencies. And then I found out about the AFC and I was like, oh, I have to do this.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're that person you're building that's already helping people on the side, right? Getting this, designation is a powerful, powerful thing because first of all, it gives you more credibility that you are actually, someone who knows what you're doing, and it allows you. I feel like this allows you to um, make this no longer just like a free service. And I know that teachers just want to give it away for free, want to help, and helping people is great. But I think ensuring that you're getting paid for your time, for those efforts you're putting in is powerful. And I feel like not that you have to get paid if you have the AFC, but like when you have that, people are more like willing to say, oh yeah, you are an expert in your field. You are someone who I can trust. And it allows you to kind of turn it into more of a business. Would you agree
Yeah.
with that?
Yeah. And so I have three pieces to my program now because I'm not a very good retired person, just so you know. I have a program where people earn their experience hours. So they practice one-on-one coaching and they develop and deliver presentations within a group setting. And then I have a program where people read books on personal finance and talk about the book and earn hours that way, right? Like they earn 30 hours every time they do one of my classes for their, the other program is 250 hours. And then my third program is private practice. So I have a private practice group of people, community. And here's one of the things that I think kind of goes into what you're talking about. We have people that have worked with enough people that we can tell folks that we're working with generally, when you work with me, you're going to save $300 to $500 a month. So you're definitely going to be able to pay me my $150 a month or whatever you're charging, right? And you're still going to reach these goals that you never would have done if you just kept going down the same path. So it helps when you have lots of people who have that kind of experience where they've saved tons of money just because they organized their finances and they made a plan and they stick to the plan. Does
Yeah,
that
that
make sense?
that that
Little side gig is nothing wrong with a little side gig. And I've
definitely.
had so many career changers in my programs. I've had teachers and veterinarians and doctors and nurses and all kinds of career fields um, transition to this and either do it as a side gig or they make it their next step in their career.
Yeah, just I love what you're saying about like you can prove to someone like this is what I've seen will happen in your finances. You will save more money by getting
Working with someone.
this
Mhm.
help, right? And it doesn't have to be forever. Once you've gotten, your training wheels and figured it out, then you don't have to work with,
I
a
generally do
person
a
forever.
check-in after the first 6 months and then once a year after that
Yeah, I mean that's simple. Something that they're not. The point is they're not paying that 150 a month for the next 30
forever.
years, right? What like they would do with a free advisor, right? They're just paying, getting their legs underneath them, and then they're going to make that saving gains and reach their goals so much faster. So like just the ability to learn and have that language of how you can help somebody, I think is another powerful tool here. So you said you can make this a side business. Just out of curiosity, like what what kind of, you said $150 an hour, is that like a standard? Like what kind of income do
There's
people
not
get through
really
it?
a standard, and I have had a lot of people that I mentor in the field that are doing private practice, and I have people who do sliding fee, where they also I have people who do like it's $2,000 for us to accomplish all of this, so it's more of a subscription kind of thing, that lasts for like 8 months or a year or something like that. Everybody has a little different way they approach it. Some people are like, I just love volunteering and doing this, and they'll take donations. And, so it's really, I would say 80 to 150 is a really good, kind of middle ground. And I've seen less and I've seen more.
Yeah. I mean, so I don't necessarily think that we want to be pushing the limits on teachers as much as we can, but if you're out there helping people, right, you're getting paid and then they are saving more money, it's just a great way to make money on the side. And if you're getting paid 80, $100 an hour on the side, this is going to be substantially better than, you know, going to wait tables or taking a side job at a grocery store or whatever it
And it's
is
so
that most
rewarding,
teachers do. Yeah.
so rewarding.
I love that piece because that's something that keeps a lot of teachers as teachers is the rewarding part of being a teacher.
Right.
We love teaching and we love that rich feeling that we get from teaching and to continue to have that and not just be like, oh, I'm going to go do this on the side just because, it makes money, right? It's just all around. I feel like this really fits the personality of a lot of the people that are going to be listening to this.
Yeah.
So if someone's listening, they're like, "Am I really ready for this?" Can you talk to like the skills that somebody needs? Do they need to be a math teacher to be able to
No.
do this, or like, do
No, there's
teachers
all
already
kinds
have the
of
skills
great
they need?
calculators out there that you can use. I think some of the most important things are being able to communicate effectively with your client, being authentic, um, understanding the information yourself, right? So that's why you take the classes or read the materials and practice. But building rapport, client trust, and effectively communicating with clients is my number one thing. Like when I ran the military program and I had thousands of people I supervised over the years that I did that, we did class after class after class on how to work with your client effectively. And that is the most important piece because I didn't want somebody coming in there and going, I know everything about money and I'm just going to tell you what to do. That's not what they need to do. People need to figure out for themselves what's right for them. And that's what we help them uncover. So I think
Yeah,
just being personable and an effective educator is so important.
I think it really comes down to understanding the client, right? You have to ask so many questions to understand. You don't just say, "This is a system that worked for me, so it'll work for you. You have to do it my way." You ask questions, you come to understand where they are, and then you have that knowledge to help them, create a plan, to formulate a plan that's going to bring them to where they're going to be successful. Can you tell a story about maybe more generic or maybe specifically about how you've seen financial counseling benefit someone?
All right. So I have a couple clients that I talk about a lot because I think they are your typical people, right? I had a young person, I did a presentation for a group that were creatives. So photographers, invitation, creators, like most of them in the wedding industry. I did a presentation for them. I had three clients that came from that. And one of them in particular, she was like, I really need to work with somebody. And she's the person who spent $1,800 more in the month than what she made the first month we worked together. 3 months later, she saved $500 a month and she was paying all her bills because before she wasn't paying any of her debts. The only thing she paid was her mortgage and her car. And then she just kept ignoring all the other bills. And at one point she said, well, I just want to be able to spend what I want to spend my money on when I want to spend it. I'm like, okay, we all do, but we're going to have a little a one-on-one here about how we have to be responsible too. So it was incredible how she changed over just a 3-month period to go from that free spirit, I'm going to spend whatever I feel like, to being responsible for her bills and making a plan for what she wanted to do in the future. Um, then I had a couple that I worked with, and they were both well, not both teachers. One was a teacher and one was a bus driver for the school district and maintenance person, you know. She made a lot more than he did, and she traveled a lot because she went around from school to school as a liaison to work with different teachers. And they had completely different ideas about their money and their future and retirement and everything. And they really never talked about their money that in depth. And they were both in their second marriage. And when we sat down and we worked together on some behavioral finance kind of activities, I have a couple assessments that I do with people. They started communicating effectively about their money. I worked with them for 6 months, and the change was incredible. Like, they just started understanding each other better. Both really had this idea that my previous partner was bad with money, and I'm afraid this person that I'm with, I can't trust them because I think they're going to be the same as that other partner. And that is something that we overcame, right? We sat down, we talked it out, we figured out how they wanted to move forward as a family. They have stepkids, blended family. And 3 years after, this was in 2021 when the everything started kind of opening back up after COVID. They reached out to me and they said, "We want to take you out to dinner. We want to talk to you about where we are." And I was like, "Okay." I was a little bit nervous. And they said, "We did this one thing where they cut off one of their kids that had some drug and alcohol problems. And she would just kept pushing boundary and boundary, and they were giving money and money, like it was a cycle that just wasn't working for them. And they said, we decided that it was important for us to cut her off so she could learn how to be responsible." And they were like, "We kind of feel bad about that." And I'm like, "Wait, you set a boundary and you kept it? That's a great thing." And then they went on to tell me, "We have 3 payments left on our house. We've saved this much money. We've made this kind of plan for vacations." And it was really incredible, how excited they were to work together and to make a plan that was really just leaps and bounds over what they came in with, 3.5 years before.
I just both of those stories, like when we hear stories, our connection with another human increases. It's amazing. But just I loved hearing how you've made a positive difference in people's lives and how that's what you get to do every day if you're gonna pursue this, right? You don't have to be an accredited financial counselor to make a difference in people's lives, but having that designation, having that education, having all that can really help you connect with people in a way that's going to make a big impact. And do these things that Andy's talking about. That's going to really make a difference. People are going to be excited because for the first time they are using their money properly. For the first time, they are making a plan and sticking to it. For the first time, they are setting a boundary and making that boundary firm. And that's just the things that are going to set them free. And you get to help them do that. I think that's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yeah. I have lots and lots of those stories. I have like over 190 um scenarios that my students use that are all, people are like, "Wait, these are all real life?" I'm like, "Yes, they're all real things that happen." There's some people out there that do crazy things with money, and you have to just help, how you can to get them to understand what they're doing, and then see what a future could look like.
I love it. Okay, we're going to start wrapping up the conversation here, but I wanted to ask you, is there any blind spot here, any question I haven't asked you that people need to know about pursuing the AFC or what it's like once you become one?
So, just like with teaching, you have continuing ed, right? So we have 30 hours of continuing ed every 2 years. Um, I that's part of my business, right? Like that whole book program that I have. Those books are 8 hours usually of continuing ed. You have 2 hours of ethics, my favorite class to teach, which I think is one of the things I love about the AFC is that you're following ethical guidelines. I mean, we all think we're ethical, but having a certification kind of layers that, right? So that's one thing. Um, one of the other questions I think you had was about what's the next step, right? People could gather together in their community, like their district or their state, and say, hey, does anybody else want to do this money management essentials or the AFC? And then we can contact AFCPE and discuss like a discount for a group. So that's a really good way to go about it too. You can always use my name when you're talking to anybody at AFCPE. They all know me well.
All right, so we've gotten
But I'm
in everybody.
also happy to help people too. So I can give my contact info for
Yep,
people.
for sure. So Andy is a fantastic resource. Like I said, she was the director over there for a while, so or president of the board of
Yeah,
directors, I guess. And so she's connected, uh, but she's not like promoting this because when you join, she gets a bunch of money or anything like that.
I don't
No,
get
this is
nothing.
just she gets nothing. All right, this
I do
is
most of
just
my stuff
a
free or cheap because it's my
sure.
retirement gig. This is what I love doing. Yeah.
It's just to help out to give back. So the AFC is just a fantastic way to become knowledgeable, to become accredited, to become ethical, all these things if you want to help people with their finances. So if somebody wants to tap into you as a resource, and if they want to, talk to you like, okay, I got this group of people, or I, just want to understand this better, what's the best way that they can contact you?
One way I think is my website, which is coachingcapability.com. But you can also get there by andiwrenn.com, ANDIWRENN.com. That has lots of information and a way to connect with me or ask a question too, probably the easiest way. And then what else? Oh, social media, right? Like I do Instagram and I have a Facebook with my AFC and LinkedIn. I'm a huge LinkedIn user. So
Are those all at Andy Wrenn, or do you have another handle?
it's either Andi Wrenn or Andi Madden Wrenn.
Okay. And
Yeah.
I will try and find all those and put them in the show notes, everybody. So if you are like, I don't want to write all this down, you don't have to. Just go to teachyourmoneyshow.com/podcast and you can find the show notes for this show and any of the shows there. And you can get the direct link to both Instagram and LinkedIn if you are a big LinkedIn person. I am not a big LinkedIn person, but if you are welcome to
Connect
connect with
with me
Andy there.
there. Like I'm connected to a lot of people who are working advocacy to get personal finance into the classrooms.
Oh yeah. So I mean, lots of great reasons to connect with Andy beyond just the AFC as well. All right, Andy, thank you for having this conversation with me today. I've got one more question for you, and
Okay.
that is, what is your number one tip for teachers to have a richer wallet, classroom, and life?
Oh my gosh. Um, just keep learning. I know we are all learners at heart, probably, but tracking your spending, making a plan with your money, telling it where to go and what job to do, uh, embedding things into your classroom. I volunteer at my local elementary school and I do things with the kids' money there. And it's always fun to just see them understand and use the tools you're giving them and enjoy life and figure out what you want to do with your life after you're done teaching. I talk to a lot of teachers about that. What are you going to do when you retire? So very important.
Yeah, I mean, teaching, I think more than a lot of professions, becomes who you are in a lot of ways. So when you give that up, a lot of people end up just substitute teaching because they don't know what else to do. But I think an AFC is another great way to continue to teach and to continue to make an impact in the world. If that's going to be something you do part-time while you're teaching, and then move into full-time in retirement, or maybe you're nearing retirement and you want to know what to do, now's the time to start pursuing an AFC. All of those things are fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing those. And I just loved having you on the show today, Andy.
Thank you, Sean.
Wow. Wasn't that a great episode? Thank you, Andy, so much for coming on the show. Now it's time for my cliff notes, my top takeaways. Number one, the AFC is a way to help people by helping them understand their money, helping them understand the emotions behind money, and set goals. Yes, there is some of that, math stuff of money, but it's really just about helping people, get counseling on their money so that way they can understand why they're acting the way they are with their money and making those decisions and then make better decisions in the future. Number two, if you get your AFC, it will not only help other people that you help, but it's going to help yourself too. You are going to be able to understand your own financial choices. So I think it's a fantastic idea that if you're interested in money, just to start moving in this direction, to start understanding your own finances, your own emotional, personal response to money. And then if you've felt that impact and you want to continue to help others, then you can move on to the AFC. Number three, uh, I love how there's this money management essentials kind of starting point, like a way to dip your toe in the water. Is this for me? I mean, yes, it costs money, but if you're interested and you want to like get into this space, I like how you can pay for it and then apply that towards your AFC later. So it's kind of like a low stakes, a low cost way to get into this space if you're interested. Number four, the way to become an AFC is, there's steps to get through, and that's important. You need to have 1,000 hours of experience, but your classroom experience teaching personal finance counts. Your book studies can count. If you've done some one-on-one coaching, that counts. Even if it is free, if you're doing free one-on-one coaching, count that. You can take classes. There's lots of ways to get that, and I think a lot of us can probably meet that 1,000 hours a lot faster than we think. Also, there's that education piece, learning, taking an exam. Some of us that's scary. We know that exams can be hard. Others are like, yeah, I can take an exam in my sleep. So depending on who you are, you can either take those like more intense classes or just do the quick study beforehand. But these are the things that you do to get your AFC, and that's pretty straightforward. And it takes work, but it shows that you're committed, and that's why having that AFC designation is a really powerful thing. It shows that you were committed to becoming accredited and following these ethics as well. And number five, if you're like, I want to become one, but I'm a little scared. I know, I know she wasn't really plugging this. She was just talking about it. But I would say that, work with Andi. She is a brilliant person in this space. I would definitely recommend working with her to help you get to that AFC level. So, reach out to her. Once again, her website, coachingcapability.com and andiwrenn.com. I will post those in the show notes at teachermoneyshow.com/podcast, and you can connect there to learn how to become an AFC. And then the next thing was number six, like, am I qualified? Yes. You have the skills, effective communication. You communicate all day long. Authenticity. All you have to do is be yourself. Understanding the content. If you're listening to this, you're consuming personal finance content, you are on your way to being ready to be an AFC. And then building that trust and rapport. Those are the skills. It's not about math skills. It's about having those interpersonal relationship skills that we build every day as a teacher. And then finally, I love how I asked her one thing and she gave us like 6 million things that we can do. Keep learning, track your spending, make a plan, embed your personal finance passion into your class, and enjoy life. I couldn't pick one of them just to talk about. So I just wanted to reiterate those number one tips instead of a number one tip because they are fantastic. I really enjoyed this, and I really enjoyed learning about the AFC because it's another way to have a rich life without worrying about the money. But at the same time, you can get some money in the process because, as a teacher, you are already rich. Your wallet just needs to catch up. If you would like help on your personal financial situation, go to teachermoneyshow.com/coaching and you'll be able to find different ways that I can help you there. If you would like to participate in spreading this message of financial empowerment to teachers, I would encourage you to talk to your administrator or to your district level about going to seankmorgan.com to find more information there. And regardless of which one of those you need, please like and subscribe so that way we can spread the reach of this more. Leave a 5-star rating and review. That's going to help more teachers find this. And then turn around and tell Teacher Wrenn. I really appreciate it.
Contents of this podcast are informational in nature and are not legal or tax advice, and neither I nor my guests are engaged in the provision of legal, tax, or any other advice. You should not act upon this information without first seeking appropriate advice from an accountant, financial planner, lawyer, or other professional.